The most dangerous Olympic sports is called luge. In a nutshell, one or two people who are called lugers will ride a sled down a hill as fast as they can. This hill is this narrow ice track. In 1986, a luge track was built on a ski hill in Alberta, Canada. This track and the surrounding ski area was called Canada Olympic Park. After the Olympics were over, this park was open to the public for recreational purposes. Nearly 30 years later, 3 teenage boys snuck into Canada Olympic Park after hours. They made their way up the hill until they reached this blue 6-foot-tall fence that was covered with warnings telling people to stay back. Inside was the starting house of the luge track. They looked at each other and chucked their plastic sleds over this blue fence and climbed up and over themselves. Once they were inside, they kind of arranged themselves. They put their helmets on, they strapped on headlamps so they could see the course because there were no lights on. They thought, let's just all get in one sled, and with the added weight, we should go faster. And after doing it a couple more times, they climbed back over that blue fence and snuck out of the park without getting caught. The following weekend, those 3 same boys, along with 5 of their friends, returned, and they determined they would put 3 boys in the first sled, 3 boys in the second sled, and 2 boys in the final sled. The group decided they did not need helmets. They also decided not to bring headlamps because it would be more exhilarating to go flying down this track in the darkness. The first 3 boys climbed into the first sled and pushed off. At first, it was going exactly to plan, but then disaster struck. There was a metal chain that had been strung across one of the sections towards the bottom of the luge track, and they strike this chain at full speed. When it hit them, it instantly decapitated and killed one of the boys. It was a 17-year-old named Evan Caldwell, and the other 2 are thrown from the sled and landed unconscious. Back up at the starting house, this second group of boys thinks they've waited long enough, and they push off. They hit the chain in such a way they kind of slipped under it. They were all thrown from their sled and kind of smashed into the track, but the worst injury was a broken ankle. And before they had a chance to yell up to the starting house, it was already too late. The third and final sled came bombing down. One of the 2 boys was a 17-year-old named Jordan Caldwell, and he too would be decapitated by the chain. And he was actually the twin brother of Evan Caldwell, the boy on the first sled who had also died. The other boy on the third sled would be thrown from the sled and would suffer grievous injuries as well. When the paramedics ultimately arrived within the hour, they found all of these boys spread out all over the track. But they discovered the twins were actually laying right next to each other, and none of these surviving boys had moved their bodies. The 6 survivors of this accident would walk away from it with life-changing head injuries and other medical issues, and with an indescribable sense of guilt, but they consider themselves lucky because at least they survived.